Hey, I'm Thomas. I want to tell you a little bit about the background about how the Learning Lab came to be. It's probably 7 years ago now. Mitra Martin contacted me and she was like, hey, do you want to come to a diner and brainstorm? Um, she's an amazing tango teacher. She and Stefan had a beautiful Argentine tango studio in Los Angeles. And as we talked at the diner, she came to the problems that she felt burnout. Like year after year, she was teaching beginners. As soon as the beginners get a little past beginner stage, they tend to all quit and it's teaching beginners again. And if you're an instructor, you might relate to this. In the beginning, it was super fun. Oh my God, it's amazing. I get to teach these people. I get to melt minds and make magic happen. But then after a while, you realize the student demographics very much skew towards beginners. And, like while you're engaged in really amazing stuff, you're really accomplished. Street noise. Well, you're really accomplished and you want to teach like really amazing things, you have to go back to the same beginner lessons and be like, no, it's a left foot, not the right foot. It's a left foot. During this diner, like I remember that I was really excited about a teaching program where they sent the students on learning missions and they were handed out by other students. And so we started playing with this idea of having like little learning missions. And eventually it turned into this idea more advanced students teach more beginning students and a curriculum of really small lessons. But in the beginning, we had a lot of struggle, and I could say our first attempts were face plants. And that's why I realized a lot of people might think this doesn't work so well, but we figured things out and it's really interesting. There was one really interesting trial that Mitra and Stefan did. They went to San Diego and had a complete beginner Argentine tango boot camp. And they brought with them more advanced students who were the mentors for the beginning students. And they had a whiteboard where everyone could see everyone's lessons and what they still had to check off or they got to check it off. And people had a lot of fun. They made a little mini documentary about it. One of the problems we ran into was we wrote up the instructions for the mini lessons, and then mentors would just stand around and read instead of teach. So that was like a bad experience. So we realized you have to be really concise in the learning lessons. If you're vague and just say do X, then the mentors, they don't really know what to do, or they get all kinds of ideas or they don't really think it through. If you get too detailed, they spend a lot of time reading. So it's a bit of an art to think about what's a concise way of giving a mentor instructions. Another challenge that we ran into that didn't actually quite materialize was you have lots of different kinds of people in the learning lab, right? Some people are very outgoing, some people are really good at explaining, some people are patient, and some people are the opposite of it. Like they're like very reductionist, they're bad at communicating, and there's like one student in particular that I was concerned about. However, I observed the learning labs, and that person seemed to be aware that he was very short in explaining how to do things, and then the social skills were limited. And so, with just a short number of learning labs, having the opportunity to mentor people, he actually learned a lot, and like it seemed like he personally benefited a lot from developing the ability to better communicate with people and how to explain things to people. So it's kind of like a hidden benefit of Learning Lab. You don't just learn whatever the subject is, but you also learn a lot of communications skills and how to relate to people, which is, on a personal level, very enriching. Stefan and Mitra left the hands of their Tango studio with some of their students, and they moved to the other coast. And what I heard back from the people who took it over was, what they really like about the Learning Lab is that students make friends in their first class, and they come back to meet their friends, so the student retention went a lot higher. Things went dormant, and the last couple of years I've been picking it back up here in New York. I wanted to start a Learning Lab with Acro Yoga and Sensual Bachata and create like a really good app behind it. And it's been a little bit of a struggle. It's, like I mentioned, there's a seating problem. You have to get enough people to come to a Learning Lab. And so for me, it's been kind of like trying to start a studio from scratch and a learning system and program some kind of changing strategy. I'm much more interested to work on the app itself and maybe support people who want to teach that way. However, I also feel like it would be good if there were like a nice Learning Lab demo running here in New York City, so teachers can come in and actually observe. It's such a foreign thing that's good to observe. That's the Learning Lab history.